We're back, Stripe Show podcast on Thursday, Players Championship edition. I was out there yesterday. Golf course is in perfect shape. I think they have it exactly where they want it. We're just going to wait and see on the rain late on a Friday, hoping for not much, because I think if it is light, they'll have a really, really good weekend at the Players Championship. They've teed off. They're underway, and we're seeing some early birdies out there. And Minwoo Lee off to a good start, 5 unders and others. So kind of keeping the Players Championship theme going here. Just going to go right down the road here. And it's all coming full circle here because my guest today, and this is going to be a good one, is the head coach of the Florida Gators, former professional golfer himself, and longtime coach to last week's winner, Kurt Kitayama. JC Deacon joins me from Gainesville. How you doing, bud?
Travis, thank you so much for having me. It's been one of the best weeks of my entire life, so I'm rolling right now.
Yeah, congratulations. And I know your guys' story goes way back, and this is going to be a really fun episode to bring this full circle with your friendship and coach-player relationship with Kurt Kitayama, who tees off this afternoon on a Thursday at the Players Championship as the champion of the Arnold Palmer Invitational.
Yeah.
And now Kurt's going to be a little different company in some of these early tee times as he's playing with Xander Schauffele and Will Zalatoris. I'm sure he's happy because him and Xander are good friends, right?
Yeah, they're boys, very close. And I told Xander on Sunday, I don't think Kurt wins that tournament without his mentorship and friendship. He's rubbed off on him big time, and it's been awesome to see.
Quadzilla, right? Isn't that what he gave him?
Well, I think JJ Spahn, that's actually his nickname.
Oh, that was JJ. Okay.
And JJ's mad at Xander because he kind of stole it. So that was funny.
All right, well, let's take it all the way back. Where this friendship started, because that's what it was. It was friendship. You've told me off air that when you very first met Kurt Kitayama at UNLV, you wanted to go out there and play and beat him because you were playing yourself. Take my audience back to where all this started.
Yeah, so I was playing pro golf. I had just in 2010, I missed at second stage by one shot. Finished 1 or 2 spots outside the number. I think it was 19 in ties, and I finished 21st or something like that. Literally one shot. The nightmare of Q schools that everyone talks about. And I was planning on going out there and doing some Mondays and chasing it again. And Coach Knight, who I played for at UNLV, called in February and said, the job just came open as my assistant and you're not making enough money doing what you're doing. You need to come work for me. And I thought he was crazy, but it sounded interesting because I could stay in the game, keep playing if I wanted to. And I always loved him and had so much respect for him. I thought it'd be pretty cool to learn the other side. And so I took him up on it. And our first freshman class that started that following August was a young man named Carl Johnson from Washington, and from Chico, California was Kurt Kitayama. And wow. Kurt was an extremely talented athlete, great at any sport that you asked him to do. He was an all-state basketball player, but he was not a very good golfer. And that's where he earned that nickname, the Project, that we've heard a little bit about. But he came in and he could barely break 75 at UNLV. It was amazing, but he would work at it, and whatever you asked him to do, he would do. But yeah, I was 27 at the time, only 9 or 10 years older than these guys. And I used to play golf with them pretty much every day. So I had my sticks out, and that's how Kurt and I's relationship start. We play golf every day. So.
Wow. Now that's hard to believe.
Yes.
That a player could barely break 75 when he got there at UNLV. And they called him the Project because all of the players, as I understand, they just loved him, right? He's just a great young man. And they wanted to help him, right? And he would listen and he would kind of take it all in as a sponge and keep working. And pretty soon now he's breaking par. And all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, this dude's like hitting it out here with me now. He just made as many birdies as I did.
Yeah, that was it. And it wasn't even just the players on the team. Everyone loved him. It was the caddies at Southern Highlands. It was the pro shop staff at Southern Highlands. Jay Beckman, who's the longtime director of golf at Southern Highlands, still is heavily involved in Kurt's career and talks to him all the time. He was just such a likable kid, and he worked so hard. You saw him putting the time in every day. But you could see he had the ability, always had a body that moved really well with the basketball background. He had a vertical. He was quick. All the athleticism you look for, had some power. He just couldn't control his ball. Had some touch from basketball, I think. And Coach Knight really helped bring that out. But honestly, I got to give Coach Knight so much credit, because I look back now, probably wouldn't have shot the scores that I personally as a coach would be looking for in junior golf. And Coach kind of looked past his scores. He was okay. He was a decent player in Northern California, but by no means an AJGA All-American or anything like that. But Coach Knight saw something in him, and he was right.
So you're watching this tournament, and here's Kurt Kitayama leading an elevated event. So much is changing in the world of professional golf. Arnold Palmer Invitational. We know with Arnie's name on it, it's been a great tournament for years. Tigers won this tournament 8 times, for crying out loud, right? And here he is, the best field that you can have on the PGA Tour is all there, and big names right behind him. I mean, it wasn't like, all due respect, right? I mean, everybody on the PGA Tour, they're great players. Right. But when you got like Rory, Scheffler, I'm looking behind, like these guys are chasing me, and he's just out there, moving around, chilling, and all of a sudden he makes triple on 9.
Yeah.
What's the first thing you thought? He makes triple on 9. What went through your head?
Let me take you back first, just for a point on that leaderboard, because you're so bang on. So we had dinner Friday night, had this little Mexican spot. It was super relaxed, and I was fine about the whole thing, but woke up Saturday and I'm driving down to Bay Hill from Gainesville, and I'm like, God, Kurt is playing with Jordan Spieth in the final group of the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Like, this is a huge moment for me. I was geeking, no doubt. And so we're out there on the practice screen before the round. I'm like, dude, this is so cool. Like, I don't want you to let this moment go by without you soaking it in. Like, you're playing with Jordan in the final group of this massive tournament. And he's like, Deke, shut up. He goes, it's Saturday. Like, relax. So he was coaching me more than I was coaching on Saturday morning. But anyways, fast forward to Sunday. And it was interesting talking to him after the round. A great story about your buddy, Tim Tucker. Kurt said he just missed the center of the face on that drive on 9. He was aiming probably a little more left than he should have, because there's more room right, but he just towed it. It wasn't that bad of a shot. He felt like he made a good swing, hits that packed sand. Tim actually thought it hit someone, and it rolls a couple inches out of bounds. Everyone saw, but Kurt hits next shot in the bunker, has a putt for double bogey, misses it, puts a mark on it as Hovland's putting for par. And I asked Tim, I said, what did you say to him from 9 to 10? Because I said, he just looks so incredibly poised on the back 9. And he goes, dude, I didn't say anything. Kurt came up to me and he goes, Tim, I'm fine. Like, I made a good swing there. I just hit the toe at the wrong time, and I'm playing great. Like, we're going to win this golf tournament. And he goes, I was so impressed that Kurt had the presence of mind and the calmness in that moment to speak like that. And I know it's a great story because he won now, but I think he won the golf tournament right there. When you can handle emotionally in that moment and not have to have Tim carry you through it. He did it on his own. That was the difference. And sure enough, back 9 of his life and beats the big boys.
Yeah, he shot 1 under on the back, rebounded nicely. Tim was here in my studio on Tuesday, and it was good to catch up with him. And I was surprised when he said, "Yeah, I'm gonna go out and loop a couple more times this year." And of course, he was Bryson's longtime caddy. He helped Adam Svensson a little bit last year, and I think for all intents and purposes, he just, like everybody else, just really liked Kurt Kitayama, the young man, and saw probably a lot of the things that Coach Knight saw. Like, there was something there. Like, he's, okay, I need to do this. Like, I need to go out and check this out. And he wins, and he was here. And I was like, well, now what are you going to do? And he's like, we're looping. This is good.
Yeah.
So he's excited. And I think, like, he told me that, kind of the same thing. Like, Kurt was just so poised. And And like in Tim's mind, he's like, man, you've just been putting on an absolute exhibition ball striking wise. And like one little shot, like just keep doing what you're doing. And it's, and that's what he did. He just kept doing what he's been doing and he didn't let him phase. That's not easy to do. That is not easy to do. Everybody listening right now, you think, oh yeah, you just keep, man, you're right there in the big moment and you make triple. When's the last time you made a triple bogey? So, and now all of a sudden he's lost the lead. Next tee just keeps going. He just kept the literally the stripe show going, driver irons and battled his way back in and won himself his first event. So I think it'll be interesting, those guys as a team, moving forward. You feel like the dynamic between Kurt and Tim can be a good one?
Yeah, I think it's special. It was difficult change for me. Kurt called me late Sunday after Pebble Beach. He was in the final group there with Justin Rose and had a really disappointing day, and just said, man, I got to make a switch with Caddie. And it was really tough on him too, because Brian Martin, who was caddying for Kurt his entire PGA Tour career so far, is one of his best friends. He's an amazing guy. He's one of the funniest people that I've ever met. I love being around him. And it broke Kurt's heart to have to make this decision. But, for his career, he thought this was the best thing at this time and had an opportunity to work with Tim. And Tim's track record speaks for itself. And spending the week with him last week at Bay Hill, he literally blew me away. And, speaking with him, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much to learn as a coach. And the element that he brings to Kurt's game has been incredible. And I just think he was so comfortable. He was laughing at me all weekend because, I'm so excited. He was telling me, dude, we got so much golf left. Just relax.
Yeah.
But the way he can break down numbers and, the different spots with air density and in the morning, and the ball's wet. Like, it's crazy what he's got, and Kurt feels really, really comfortable taking those numbers from him.
Yeah, the numbers that he issues are very well thought out, and he's an excellent greens reader. And I talked about it last week. I said, that's an asset. I don't know how well Kurt reads greens and those. I'm sure he's very good, but I do think having another set of eyes like Tim that perhaps he could learn to trust and as he validates his reads. Look, if you got someone that is an excellent read reader and is taking literally everything into consideration when issuing a number, those things have some value. So let's talk about your relationship with Kurt now. You've been his coach really since that time in UNLV, since you left there.
It wasn't. He left school. Well, I left before his senior year. I got the job at the University of Florida in June of 2014, and that was Kurt's senior year. So I missed him his senior year, but obviously we had a great run as a team. We made match play at Crabapple in Atlanta at the national championship in, I guess that was 2009 or 10. So we had some really, really special experiences with that group. We were extremely tight. So I stayed in close touch with that entire team that whole year, obviously followed them really close. And then Kurt and I always stayed in touch, but I was not his coach out of school. And he lost his Korn Ferry Tour card in 2008. Yeah, it was 2018. And he called me out of the blue that summer and said, man, I need some help. And the conversation started as I'm so lost. Who do you think I should work with? And it was perfect because he had been sending me some videos, and I thought in the moment what he needed, and his swing was an absolute mess. But it was a pretty easy fix. We just did a little bit of work, spent a few days together, and it just clicked for whatever reason. And I think it's such an important part of coaching. All that time we had played together, all those situations we had been through, I think the trust was really there. And in coaching, I just don't think there's anything bigger than trust. And so we worked, and he went to Q school that fall over in Europe and crushed it. Went through first two stages in Europe, and then he either won or almost won final stage, played great, got his card, and then luckily for me, I mean, timing's everything. He goes out and wins in Europe, I think in February, like literally his third or fourth event on the tour as a full member. And, that solidified our relationship, and kind of hired me full time. And then, it's just seemed to have gotten better every year. We had a little bit of a lull in COVID. I didn't think he got to play enough. He was kind of trying to come back over here. The travel to Europe was a mess because of all the COVID rules. And that was the only year I really worried. Just he got off and didn't get to compete enough. But every year he's gotten better. Our relationship's growing, and to see it end not end, but I guess just the beginning, hopefully. But to see it culminate in a win on the PGA Tour at Arnold Palmer's event was a dream come true.
That's cool. Let's talk about these swings here for a second, because you said when you first saw him, when he sent you those videos, his swing was a mess. So take us through what we're looking at here, and maybe some of the things that you guys work on, checkpoints, things like that.
Yeah, so maybe go back to the start there, you'll see. But his posture gets a little bit off. His balance can fluctuate on his feet. It's actually really good there. He looks nice and relaxed. His butt gets too far out, so we're always trying to tuck his butt underneath and get that nice kind of flat look there in his lower back. Really relaxed in the shoulders there. Looks fantastic. This setup's pretty much perfect for him. But you'll see with Kurt, he gets his hands really high in his golf swing. So when we started working together, his hands, I've got a swing somewhere, I'm not sure where it is, they were even higher. They were like completely over his right ear there. So if you can picture even closer to the target line, it was wild. And the amount that he had to reroute the club, he's really athletic. So he knows how to shallow the club. He knows, like, look at that. It's just absolute money move right there. And he's one of the best iron players in the world, and the numbers back it up. But his swing, he had so much movement in transition. It was crazy. And the swing that I remember was from the Corn Ferry Tour. I think they were playing in Mexico. I always say it looked like an octopus swing in the golf club. He was just all over the place. His finish was so gross. And I hear that sometimes, like he looks a little savvy. People say it's savvy. But if you slow it down from face on, his impact position is just so elite. And there it is right there. And you'll see how much he leans the shaft at impact and absolutely flushes his irons. And I think we were speaking about Tim Tucker earlier. Tim has been really, really impressed with that. And geez, he worked with Bryson DeChambeau for a long time, who's one of the best ball strikers ever. And, he thinks Kurt's iron game is right there with Bryson. Wow. I thought was a really neat compliment. So it's just, I think we've tried to take it really, really slow with Kurt. There's different times in the year, maybe November, December, where I'll throw some more at him. And he'll tell me I'm crazy for 8 things out of 10, but he'll hold on to 2 or 3 things and go with it. But I'm really proud of his swing. I don't think a finished product yet, but he's not that big, and he's got comfortably 185 mile an hour ball speed with his driver. He's got comfortably 175 mile an hour ball speed with his 3-wood, and can work that both ways, which was huge last week at Bay Hill because of some of those angled tee shots and dog legs. He was able to shape it off the tee and hold some of those big wins that we saw early in the week. So it's definitely not there. He's really growing in his practice. You'll see there he's got an alignment stick down for his feet, and he's also got alignment stick down. He loves to take the club too far inside. If he doesn't pay attention to it. See, even there, it's maybe bordering on going a touch too inside. That's actually pretty good. But with his kind of shallowing move that he does at the top, if he takes it too far inside, he gets underneath it, and he'll start kind of wiping it out to the right or hitting some pulls. So that's pretty good right there.
Yeah. See, it's funny you say that, because one of the things people like to get on me about is that position right there. And it's great to hear you say that someone like Kitayama, who would get the club head maybe a little more inside that, right? Or say inside the hand line there a little bit.
Yeah.
And that you guys would clean that up. And I would think most players would. Now, there's a few that take it a little inside, and that's just kind of what they do. Like Matthew Fitzpatrick's a little inside, and there's a couple guys in the Hall of Fame like Raymond Floyd that did that. But by no means would you ever teach someone to do that, because we know that more times than not, that can kind of cause some issues in the way of slowing development down for an amateur, or making a player like Kitayama start doing things that he doesn't want to do, compensation. So
yeah,
that position has so much value to everybody. And it's refreshing to hear you say that you guys clean that up, make sure the club head's a little there. And then it's really, oops, wrong button. Hold on a second here. It's really interesting to hear then that when you guys started, that his left arm was that upright. So what do you do to get the left arm deeper? Is it just trying to get his left arm more around, or is it like a turn? Like what did you tell him?
Well, it's funny because if you watch his, I love that right there. Just balance in that spot. But if you watch his practice swing, we obviously don't have the video of it right now, but if you're ever watching him play and he does a practice swing, literally it's perfect. It looks like Kurt always talks about, we talk about Tiger a lot. It looks like how Tiger Woods would set a golf club on his backswing. It's absolutely beautiful.
Interesting.
When you put a ball in front of him, he cannot do it. And I've just always encouraged him, just keep doing it perfectly in practice. Keep doing it perfectly, when you're making rehearsals, and it's slowly going to get there. So this is hopefully, a year or two down the line, it's going to keep getting better. And his hands will get a little bit deeper as we go, which I hope is going to help him maybe become a little bit more consistent of a driver, because he gets a little bit steep on it with his driver sometimes, and he's push out to the right that actually cost him on Saturday at Bay Hill. He hit one out of bounds on number 4, and it was that exact swing that drives us both nuts. But it's and the deeper he gets his hands, the less he's going to have to reroute the club there and on the way back. So hopefully it'll just make things tighter. But I think it's different for everyone. That move that we were talking about at the start of his swing there, I got to spend last Friday with him. Just luckily our team was out in Las Vegas competing in an event, and so Kurt spent the day with us, and I spent the morning with him, and the main thing we worked on was that takeaway there. He was just getting the club way inside. He actually at Riviera, he finished bogey on Saturday morning after they had that delay and missed the cut. Bogeyed 17, that par 5. And we kind of figured out why with his swing. So all week at Bay Hill, he was just working on that takeaway move. Watch the coverage, every swing he was making, he kind of had a little rehearsal before he swung. And geez, look at that. Right. You're going to hit a lot of good shots from that spot.
It's almost like it's a little JT like.
Yes. We use Justin a lot in our comparisons, but the thing with Justin is Justin's club tracks down. Justin doesn't have that big shallow move. His transitions, I would say, a lot cleaner than Kurt's right now still. And that's why he's in contention every time he plays. He's a major champion. He's a great driver of the golf ball. So I think we still have some work to do, but we use Justin's footwork. It looks very similar to Kurt's too. So we use his model a lot. Yeah.
I think Justin's got the shaft pitched back a little bit more there but like the lead arm, right arm, like, there's definitely some similarities there. It's just interesting to listen to the journey of every player with a coach, right? Like in as a coach, there's no perfect like pathway that works for every single player. It's like, here's my model, here's what I do, and it works for every player. I tell every player the same thing. Like that'd be ridiculous to say that, right? Because every player is so different. And when you work with such skilled players like you have at University of Florida, and UNLV and like Kurt Kitayama playing on the PGA Tour, it's like, okay, we want to get the left arm a little more, right? And then it's like it moves, like you said, it used to be on the ear, now it's below that, it's on the neck, and it's like, all right, that's better, and you get momentum and traction, and off you go, and in your mind, you're like, man, I'd like to get that a little deeper, but you can't push too hard, right? You can't push too hard.
This is how my coaching career got framed. I was a somewhat accomplished junior player, had won a lot in Canada growing up. And unfortunately, me and my dad didn't know better, but I came down to Florida for my junior year of high school, and my swing looked like Dustin Johnson. I had a massively bowed lead wrist, club was laid off, shut, and I just got completely changed by a golf coach, and they thought I needed to look like Nick Faldo. So I went from bowed and shut to cupped and open.
Wow.
And it took me
get out of here. Wow.
10 years to get my golf game back to where I wanted. And so I'm super sensitive, whether it comes to Kurt or my players at Florida or at UNLV. I am never going to change your DNA. I just don't believe in that. It obviously hits close to home, and Kurt's got a very unique DNA. This is what he does. He gets annoyed with me when I keep pushing him about, getting his hands deeper and deeper, because I do think it would help him become more consistent with the driver. But this is where he's comfortable, and that's where his body goes, his hands go, and I believe there's a reason for that. He believes there's a reason for that, and he was right, and he just proved it by winning a PGA Tour event.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think DNA is a key word. One of the things I'll hear, I talk to a lot of coaches on the podcast. We get a lot of players on the podcast. A lot of times, players that we'll talk with and just listen to about their journey with their coach. Oftentimes, one of the things I'll hear is that the reason maybe like they make a switch or something, or they get annoyed with something, is that they'll be going down a path of, okay, in your situation here, it's like, we need to get a little more lead arm depth and this and that. And it's like, it's incremental, right? You're just kind of pushing it a little bit. Yeah, I like that. He likes it. All of a sudden you get, things are good and you kind of run with it. Is that they feel like that the coach maybe then tries to make it too perfect, in that, like, they like the direction, but then it gets to that point where they push maybe too hard, and then it becomes like too much, like they're trying to make it the model and perfect. And that's where they get a little sidetracked. Now, everybody's a little different, but that's something that I'll hear like a decent amount from players, which I find interesting, in that they feel like maybe the coach is just pushing too hard, when it comes to a particular move or position, and maybe trying to make it too exact, if I'm articulating that well enough.
And I do think that helps. That you just nailed the point that I think is really important in coaching. And this is just in my opinion. There's so many better swing coaches out there than I am, but I got to play, and I played. I played in the PGA Tour event in 2019. I've got to feel that pressure and what it's like to be out there. And that's where Kurt and I's relationship always goes back to is, hey, dude, you've got to hit the shots. You've got to stand up there in front of 10,000 people. If you don't like what I'm telling you and it doesn't feel good, and you're not going to be able to execute that when you're under that type of pressure, I don't care. Throw it out. Tell me I'm an idiot, and we'll find a new way to do it. And he does that all the time. You can see in that video there, he's got a very, very neutral club face, which sometimes makes it, he wants to fade the ball completely with his driver. He never wants to see it turn left. And that's a interesting club face to be a, prominent fader with. It's just, it makes timing it makes the matchup tough. And we've tried to work on his club face at times and strengthen it a little bit. And he's like, I can't do it. I just don't want to do it. I don't want to go there anymore. And that's that's where I've had to say, all right, that, we've got to find a different way to do
Yep.
it, because if he's not going to feel comfortable, the stress that these guys are under, you talked about number 9 at Bay Hill. I was in the crowd, and just like the comments and the oohs and ahs when he hit that ball OB, it's a lot.
Sure.
And it's an insane amount of stress, and you've got to be really, really comfortable with your motion and what you're doing. And I don't know what's comfortable. Kurt knows.
Yeah.
That's always what we're going to go back to.
Yeah, I think the sooner the coach figures out the DNA and what the player is comfortable playing with,
yes,
and kind of what those parameters are, and what that context is, and what type of language that he responds to, like that, you're kind of starting to figure it out. And boy, there's so many stories that I could tell through conversations that I just love this kind of talk, right? Because I think like there's a lot of, like, my audience, there's a lot of casual fans and amateurs listening to this, and it's interesting dialogue, right? And story. But then there's a lot of coaches that listen to this. A lot of coaches that I had here in my studio that I saw at TPC, and they love coach speak, like we're talking about, because they're real. It's real ammo, like these are real things that happen. And how do I make the relationship with my player one that is healthy, and where I feel like I'm adding value to the player, and figuring out how to unlock things that's going to make him play better.
yeah.
And I've had a little experience in it. Like, it's never been a journey of mine and a goal of mine to like travel the tour with players. Like, it's just nothing that I'm not wired to probably do that. But I had some experiences with it in my early days at TPC with Fred Funk and some other players, and I got to live that experience with them. And it's one that is fascinating. That I think is one of the most fascinating stories, is the coach player dynamic on the PGA Tour. I mean, it really is.
It's crazy, and I've been so fortunate. Sean Foley has always been one of the most important people in my life. I met Sean when I was 15. He's Canadian and I'm Canadian. He was coaching at Glen Abbey. I was working with another coach who happened to be out there, and Sean and I were more friends. We're pretty close in age, and we used to actually compete against each other and do little short game stuff. But he actually coached me a little bit when I turned pro. And he's always been a mentor of mine. I just admire everything about Sean and how he does things. And I've learned so much from him about the golf swing, about the mind, about everything. But to your point, speaking with Sean, and you ask him today how much he's changed in his with the players. Sean will tell you up front, I used to use words and outsmart my players and try and make them think that I knew all this and knew all that, knew these big words. Now he said, I'm just getting to a point where I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. And I think he's one of the best in the world, and he's learned and he's gotten better. And I think that's a big step for him, is the fact that he's making it, easier to his players to understand where he's coming from and to put it into play.
Yep. Well said. So let's finish with this. Let's talk a little college golf for a second here. Florida Gators, you guys are in the spring.
Yeah.
I'm just curious here. I always like to ask this players a question to college coaches, but like the athlete today playing college golf, is it as good as you've ever seen it right now? These kids that are coming in, the athlete, and just their ability. You talked about Kitayama, the athlete, and I know before there were great athletes. I get that, but just like the depth of it, like the pool of kids playing golf today, are we seeing the most basketball, football, baseball, great athlete players in golf at the University of Florida in SEC? Is it the best it's ever been right now?
Travis, great question. And the depth in college golf is insane. And it's funny because I was just talking with our assistant coach, Dudley Hart, this morning, who played on the PGA Tour forever. We'll get emails from parents and kids saying, I want to come to the University of Florida. And a lot of the times we're like, no, you don't. It is so cutthroat here, just on our team. We got 5 traveling spots that count for our team score, and we have a legitimate 9 or 10 guys this year who are so good at golf, banging each other's head trying to earn these spots. And it's like that in a lot of different places. And I think you nailed it. Tiger just brought a whole new generation of golfers to our sport, and it's everyone now. Tall, short, whatever it be, but you're seeing so many athletes. Everyone has ball speed in the 170s when they're showing up now, minimum. And it's insane how great of a spot our game is. It's really exciting.
Yeah, it really is. When I'm out there doing stuff and just watching, like I did a segment with Brandon Matthews, who big tall guy that
crazy.
I mean, he makes a move at it. And he's like, yeah, that was probably 330 in the air. I'm like, wait, I was like, that move was 330 in the air. And we looked at it. I'm like, yeah, it was 331 in the air. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Like that looked way too easy.
Yeah.
To carry at 330. He's like, yeah, that's like 80%.
Yeah.
It's like, he's 6'4", 6'5", drop step dunk, right?
It's unbelievable. And
yeah,
just everyone bombs it now. And it's fascinating to see where the game's going to go. That's why I personally love weeks like Bay Hill last week, because you had to have some artistry and some craftsmanship around there. You couldn't just bomb it around and hit it in that rough, because you couldn't stop it on the green. So it'll be interesting to see how golf evolves and the golf courses evolve with this. But yeah, the athleticism and the power and sheer strength in our game right now is pretty unbelievable.
Well, I think you're seeing it. It's evolving with the courses, and I think you see it this week at the Players. The rough is as long as I've seen it since I mean, JC, I remember I moved here in 2001, and I can remember those early days. The rough was long. It was kind of heinous. It was penal, like really difficult shots around the green. The rough, Bermuda, all over the place,
Right.
And then they kind of got away from rough, and it didn't feel that penalizing around the greens or when you missed it off the fairway. Let me tell you something. This year, the rough is longer.
Oh yeah, we were out there on Tuesday, and it's the real deal. That golf course is, I mean, I don't want to say perfect, because I guess nothing's perfect, but it's as close to perfect condition as I've ever seen a golf course in my life. It is.
Wow. Well, I hope it doesn't rain too much. I know they have the air system. We want to see the ball bouncing this weekend.
Yeah.
If the ball is bouncing this weekend and you get the wind on the weekend, get that subtle brownish tint. All right, now Sawgrass is gonna. Now we're gonna see TPC Sawgrass, right? And then you got the rough in play. So I'm excited. I'm excited about that. And Kirk Kitayama, just keep it going. Let's just add the 5th major to it as well, right? Let's just keep this thing rolling and get yourself another win. He's got staying power. I like him. He's different. He's unique. I like the fact that he's kind of a late bloomer too, JC. I like that. I know we get the young stars and they're early and they go, and that's great. I like the story of the late bloomer, the perseverance, the hard work. He's failed. Like it didn't come as easy, right? Like he had to grind it out, and he's just a cool story that way. And so I like those stories a lot. The late bloomer.
Yeah, he's just so special, and he's got a lot of fight in him, and he's never going to quit. And he's been through a lot. You're right. He's never really been the best player at any level, but he's always just had these little moments in time. I remember the 72nd hole at that national championship where we made the match play together as a team. He holed a 7-iron from 207 yards on the last hole, and we made match play on the number. And he's just always done like little things like that in the big moments. I remember I think it was the PGA at Bethpage, before he had any status over here. He shot like 32 or 33 on the back 9 on Friday to make the cut. And you're like, dang, like this kid can do some big things and some big moments. And obviously he's got no reason to not believe he's one of the best players in the world now. And but we'll see. You got media, you got a whole new amount of responsibilities, so it's going to be adjustment period for him. And we'll do our best to knock him down and keep him grounded and keep him grinding.
Hey, I appreciate your time, JC. Congratulations. Next time you're around the area, let me know, and I'd love to get you in the studio here.
Thank you so much, Travis. I love your enthusiasm for the game and your love for teaching, and you're spreading it out there and bringing good energy, and appreciate you having me on and being a small part of it.
All right. Thanks, JC.
Thanks, buddy.